What's up, guys? Jeff Boski here. This is my first installment of a special poker hand series called the Boski Breakdown. This hand comes from a Live at the Bike episode featuring Garrett Adelstein, Sloppy Claude, and a few regulars, a few recreationals also. The blinds are 25-50 with a 100 straddle. Action folds to Chris Klodnicki, also known as Sloppy Claude online. He opens to 300. Francisco on the button casually puts in the call. There is some speculation that Chris Klodnicki saw Francisco's hand as he looked at it, so let's keep that in mind. Flop comes Jack 7-3 with 2 spades. Chris does have the ace of spades. He doesn't find much value in betting. His ace high is going to be good here some of the time, so he elects to check. Francisco thinks he's given up, so he wants to go for a little bet with his king 8 offsuit. He can turn a flush draw or a straight draw, so it's not too bad of a call, although I would probably fold pre-flop. The turn brings a 5 of spades, giving both of them flush draws. Chris continues with his check line, and Francisco quickly checks. At this point, I think it's important to realize that Francisco should be barreling all hands that pick up additional equity, such as straight draws, flush draws. I think Chris really realizes this, so when the river comes in offsuit 10, Chris knows his ace high is probably not good because Francisco probably has showdown equity with one pair type hands, so Chris elects for a polarizing size bet of 1,700, a pot size bet. He's repping top pair plus, possibly 2 pair or a straight. But the most important thing to take away from this hand is his nut flush blocker. Since he has it, he knows Francisco can't have it, and blockers are a very important part of No Limit Hold'em nowadays. Some may argue that they're far more valuable and pertinent in Pot Limit Omaha due to having 4 cards and more opportunities to actually have the nuts, as it's a lot harder to just get the nut flush in Texas Hold'em. So Francisco goes into the tank, and I think a lot can be learned from his body language here. The way he's counting out his chips, the way he's hesitant. You have to really figure out if he's giving away genuine tells or false tells. Is he trying to make himself look weak, or is he genuinely thinking with his actions, and he can't control how he's really feeling at the moment? He does have a great hand for bluffing this river, since he has the 8 blocker that blocks the 8-9 and the second nut flush blocker. He figures that Chris is going to c-bet a lot of his ace-high flush draws on the flop, so you can discount those from his range. Francisco goes deep into the tank, weighs his options. He knows he can't really call with king-high. Now the question is he going to shove, or does it make it look like a value raise? With only about 7,500 in his stack, I think the best play is to just shove and polarize your hand completely. The problem is Chris is a very thinking player, and he's going to be tough to give him credit for 8-9 or a flush in this spot after checking back the turn. Chris gives away something in his reaction here, like he just doesn't believe the story Francisco's telling. Francisco only has about 3,000 behind. Chris takes a look at this and deduces that he's just clicking buttons and he can't call a shove. He might have been turning his 1 pair into a bluff. Chris jams all in with just the ace of spades, just the nut flush blocker, and Francisco quickly folds. An incredible play, a very rare line to be taking, but I like it. Chris is a very good player. Mixed games, tournaments, cash games, he knows what he's doing. He knows his opponent. He knows Francisco would probably be barreling most turns if he did turn a straight or make a flush. He didn't think Francisco's line made sense. The pieces of the puzzle didn't add up, so he put him to the test for his whole stack. An excellent high-level bet shove line on the river from Chris. It's rare enough to see river bet bluff raises, but to see a bluff, a rebluff, and a rebluff is incredible. Hats off to Chris for making the spectacular play on the Live at the Bike stream. On this episode of the Boski Breakdown, we're featuring a hand that happened on Live at the Bike. The blinds are 50, 100 with a $200 straddle. A very tough lineup, a lot of good pros, so the play level is going to be very high. Hold on to your seats, this is going to be a good one. Action starts with Garrett Adelstein, aka G-Man Online, a longtime Stars 25-50 high stakes no limit crusher. He makes it 500. 2.5x seems a little small, but it's standard for his play style. He does a lot of things that are unorthodox. Action folds around to Gary on the button where he has ace-jack, and he has a lot of options here. He could definitely 3-bet. He elects just a smooth call, maintain his positional advantage. He doesn't want to face a 4-bet. Alec Torelli just puts in the flat in the big blind, and Martin also comes along in the straddle with the ace-7 suited. Everything pretty standard so far, except for maybe Alec electing not to 3-bet his jacks. When the flop comes queen 10-9, this is where things really get interesting. It's an action flop. It's very wet. Garrett wants to protect his middle set and get value from all the draws and other two pairs, pair plus straight draw, pair plus flush draw type hands. So he bets large, 1,800. Gary elects just to call. Definitely could raise here, turn his hand into a bluff with the big draw, but he elects just to call and play in position. When action folds to Alex, he has a tough decision. He has to figure he's beat, and even if he hits his draw, it'd be pretty obvious that he has a straight, and he's going to be playing out of position. As weak as it seems, even with the jack of hearts, I think it's best just to lay the jacks down here, but he eventually puts in the call. A7 gets out of the way, and we're 3 ways to a turn. The turn brings an absolute brick, the 4 of diamonds. Alex going to play in flow and check. Now the action is to Garrett, and Garrett should choose a big sizing here to charge all the draws. Very wet board. When the board is wet, you want to bet big. If the board is dry, bet small in general, because you don't have to protect against much, and there's not that much action to be had, so you want to really entice action. After Garrett bets 6,000, Gary's in a pretty tough spot. He does still have position. He does have the ace of hearts, so he can rep a nut flush if it happens to hit on the river. And a king is a great card because he'll definitely stack anybody that has just jack X, like Alec in this situation. So hopefully he thinks Garrett is semi-bluffing or betting for thin value with a queen-jack type hand, bottom 2 pair, something like that, and he can really get a ton of value on the river. Alec does put in the fold, and the river is the 6 of hearts, completing the flush. Gary has the ace of hearts, so he knows Garrett cannot have the nut flush. With 20,000 in the pot and about 45,000 behind, this is a very tough spot for Garrett. He doesn't think he can bet for value. He thinks he's going to just probably bluff catch at this point because Gary might turn Jack 10 or Jack 9 into a bluff. So he doesn't find the value he wants in betting, although I could see some merit for a small blocker bet with his set here, as strange as that sounds. Garrett elects to check. Now the action is to Gary. Ace high, never good here. No hand he can ever beat that Garrett would bet twice into 4 people. So now he has to figure out, is he going to go for the fake value bet, or is he going to go for the completely polarized value shove, repping the nut flush and pretty much the nut flush only? And he shoves all in, and Garrett is not happy. And this is when the tilt really kicks in.
From Gary, wow. Gary just shoved over 2x pot. Are you kidding me?
Man, I told you, like, if you just made a good hand, I would help you out, but that's just too greedy. How much is that? It's just way too greedy. It's obnoxiously greedy. He's got, like, 20 queens, too, right? 14. Oh, no, he probably has ace fucking king high. What is it?
30, 44, 44 and change.
Super greedy bet. So frustrating how my hand is never the... Well, 2 things often happen. I either don't have the best hand or I will make the wrong decision. Between those 2 things that often happen, it's just hard to fit. If I occasionally made the right decision, Tan, just 1 in a million, then it'd be a little better. What a joke. 44. That guy's a sicko, man. What is he doing? Such a greedy bet.
And look at the cojones on Gary, willing to put in $45,000 on a stone cold bluff against Garrett Adelstein.
Garrett is really vocalizing his inner thoughts, the frustration, just the tough 6 spot that he's been put in, and he's been running bad for the last few weeks. He's been making kind of the wrong decisions. Things haven't been working out, and it all kind of compounds. When your mindset goes like this in poker, it's time to take a break, reevaluate some things, take some coaching from some other players, watch your friends play, watch other successful people win, even drop down limits and get that winning feeling back again. Because it's a downward spiral when you're on a losing streak, and you got to do something to break that streak. The same goes for a winning streak. If you're running hot, you're winning tournaments, you're crushing cash games, keep playing. Don't take a vacation. Don't spend all your winnings. Keep hammering. Stay in that same mindset, because that's the winning mindset, and that's the confidence that you need to be a winning poker player. Garrett's very frustrated. He doesn't know what to do. He feels no matter what he does, it'll be the wrong choice. Either he calls, sees the nut flush, or he folds and gets bluffed by the nut flush blocker.
Honestly, I'm not even considering putting the money in. Like, that's the thing. Like, I'm probably wrong, and I just am like 96% sure he doesn't have it. And it's just like every time.
And this brings into play why blockers are so important in poker. Not only does Gary have the nut flush blocker, he also has the jack, which does block a lot of combos of jack 8, and king jack, which Garrett could have been betting for value on previous streets. Garrett frustratingly makes the fold. Gary shows no emotion and takes down the pot. Garrett just tries to shake it off and move on to the next hand, but it's never easy sometimes. You make a decision, you got to live with it. Sometimes you have to live and learn, but other times you have to recognize the power of the blockers. The nut flush blocker put into play once again with the polarizing over double pot bet jam. I hope you guys enjoyed this episode of the Boski Breakdown. Make sure you hit that like and subscribe button and the alerts button to be notified of when the next Boski Breakdown will hit on YouTube. Take care, guys.